I now give the floor to His Highness Faisal bin Farhan Al-Furhan Al-Saud, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Saudi Arabia.
In the
name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, Excellencies, President of the General Assembly, Secretary General of the UN, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you and bring the blessings of God be upon you. I congratulate Dennis Francis on his election as President of the 78th session of the General Assembly and wish him every success in his functions. We also thank His Excellency Mr. Chaba Karoshi for his remarkable efforts as President of the previous session. We pay tribute to the Secretary General for his tireless efforts to strengthen the effectiveness of the bodies of the UN in order to attain the Charter's goals and principles. Saudi Arabia affirms that member states must be committed to respecting the UN Charter and the principle of international equality for a better future for humanity based on mutual respect for sovereignty, independence, and the values of member states, as well as the principle of non-interference in internal affairs, resolving conflicts through peaceful means and non-use of force or the threat of force. The vision of Saudi Arabia for 2030 promotes the efforts for construction and development to meet the needs of future generations and will help to empower women and young people by developing their creativity and innovative capacity to consolidate the values of openness, dialogue, tolerance, and coexistence. For Saudi Arabia, human rights are of crucial importance. Our laws and regulations include clear text regarding the promotion and protection of those rights. The approach taken by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia aims to ensure a comprehensive and lasting recovery based on the individual, to develop the present, to forge a future through knowledge. Our country has enacted a number of laws and has also amended existing laws in order to promote the dignity of the citizen and protect livelihoods and decent living while ensuring protection for all. We affirm that security in the Middle East region requires the acceleration of the quest for a just, comprehensive solution to the Palestinian issue. The solution must be based on resolutions on the international arena and must bring about a peace that allows the Palestinian people to have an independent state within the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. We reaffirm our rejection and condemnation of all unilateral measures that are a flagrant violation of international law and undermines regional and international efforts by hindering the process of finding a political solution. The Kingdom strives to support all efforts to bolster security and stability and to focus on inclusive development, to create a favorable space for dialogue and to reduce tension, and to encourage the region states to avoid any escalation and to exchange benefits and interests in order to meet the aspirations of the region's people. Saudi Arabia is striving to implement the principle of collective action in order to build a better future for the region and for the entire world. Therefore, we have hosted many joint regional summits as part of the Gulf Cooperation Council and the Arab League, which we take active part in. And so do all of the states of the region, including Syria. We believe that resolving the Syrian conflict, a crisis, would contribute to stabilizing the region and the world. We would like to see stability return to the region. Therefore, we have led negotiations with Iran and Baghdad and Muscat, and this culminated in the Beijing Agreement on resuming diplomatic ties and direct communication between our two countries based on mutual respect, respect for sovereignty, independence, security, and non-interference, and while respecting the UN Charter and the Charter of the OIC. President, we strive to preserve peace and stability in Yemen, and therefore are taking measures to stop the crisis in the country and alleviate the suffering of our brotherly people of Yemen by working unwaveringly to find a political solution to reestablish peace and security in Yemen while preventing any threat against the region. When it comes to Lebanon, we are standing by the sides of the Lebanese people, our brothers, and call on all Lebanese parties to make political and economic reforms that are comprehensive and structural to allow Lebanon to overcome the current crisis. We affirm the need for the Lebanese state to extend its authority to all of its territory while respecting the relevant Security Council resolutions and the Taif Agreement. This would contribute to improving security, to stopping drug trafficking and terrorist activities, which are undermining the security of the country, region, and world. As for Iraq, for Saudi Arabia, security and stability in Iraq are essential for the entire region. We reaffirm our constant support for security, development, and territorial integrity, as well as to the Arab identity and social fabric of Iraq. As for the Sudanese issue, we are deeply concerned about the escalations and military conflicts between the Sudanese army and the Rapid Support Forces. We call for de-escalation in Sudan, and to alleviate the crisis, we hosted in Jeddah the parties to the conflict. Together with the U.S., Saudi Arabia is working actively to protect civilians and to guarantee delivery of aid to the population. We have, since the beginning of the crisis, constantly taken humanitarian action by conducting evacuation operations by sea of thousands of Sudanese and citizens of neighboring and brotherly countries, and supported the UN mission there, which was caught in the crossfire. His Majesty, the custodian of the holy sites, has launched a popular initiative to raise funds for the Sudanese people. His Majesty also decreed the allocation of $100 million as humanitarian assistance to an emergency fund through the King Salman Center for Humanitarian Assistance. In parallel with these efforts, working in the field, in June, we presided over the high-level donor conference together with other international partners. During this conference, donors committed to mobilizing humanitarian assistance to respond to the crisis in Sudan and to provide more than $1.5 billion for this. We deeply hope that these efforts will be successful. Saudi Arabia also reaffirms the importance of strengthening security and stability in Libya, guaranteeing its sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity by putting an end to foreign interference in its internal affairs. My country supports the total ceasefire and the appeal by Libya for the immediate and total withdrawal of all foreign forces, combatants, and mercenaries in accordance with Resolution 2570 of the Security Council of 2021. We also reaffirm the importance of security and stability in Afghanistan, and that it should not serve as a refuge for terrorist organizations. We call for respect for the fundamental rights of the Afghan people, including the right of women to education and employment. And we call for stepping up international and regional efforts to provide humanitarian and economic aid to alleviate the suffering of the Afghan people. As for the crisis between Russia and Ukraine, we once again call for an end to this crisis to reduce its impact, its negative impact on security and stability throughout the world. We should spare no effort toward this end in order to find a peaceful solution to these disagreements while respecting international law in order to protect the interests of all. We must continue humanitarian efforts, and to do so, the Prime Minister has made efforts with regard to the states concerned. When it comes to prisoner exchange for different nationalities. Also, Ukraine was invited to take part in an Arab summit in Jeddah. In August, we hosted a meeting of the National Security Council, bringing together representatives of more than 40 states and organizations. Mr. President, we affirm the importance of efforts to eliminate nuclear weapons. To this end, the international community must honor its commitments under the existing international treaties and laws in order to build a world free of nuclear weapons, especially in the Middle East. We also reaffirm the importance of maintaining international peace and security, and is willing to employ good offices to resolve international and regional conflicts in accordance with the principles of international law. For my country, security and stability are not possible in any region of the world without cooperation and coordination between states to promote development and progress and to prevent an arms race to acquire these destructive weapons that threaten humanity. Our international community has made great strides when it comes to combating terrorism and extremism. We must continue to work tirelessly to counter and eliminate this scourge, which runs counter to all religions, beliefs, and races. The world must show firmness and determination when it comes to supporting or sponsoring terrorism or extremism. We must reject all forms of attacks against sacred values and the propagation of hate and Islamophobia under any pretext, and prevent incidents such as the burning of the Holy Quran. We warn against the gravity of these acts, which jeopardize mutual respect and understanding between peoples, and which hinder international efforts toward tolerance, moderation, and rejection of extremism. We promote an approach that would bolster the culture of peace globally. We welcome the resolution adopted by the Human Rights Council, by the extraordinary session of the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, of the OIC, in order to combat recent incidents of profaning the Quran. And we welcome the adoption by the Human Rights Council of the resolution entitled Combating Religious Hatred and Incitement to Hate Speech and Discrimination and Violence. We promote dialogue and cooperation between cultures and civilizations for peace and understanding throughout the world, while respecting the relevant international instruments pertaining to human rights. Mr. President, the stability of the global energy market is an important prerequisite for global economic growth. We are striving to preserve stability, reliability, sustainability, and security of the global oil markets, and to meet the needs of consumers, to guarantee a safe and beneficial economy for producers and consumers at a global level. We are constantly focusing on the importance of collective cooperation with OPEC and BLS in order to promote the reliability and stability of global crude oil markets. The OPEC-BLS group has taken an approach that helps to control the market through a preventive approach that thus contributes to market stability and balance. This clearly is illustrated by the stability of the oil market in 2022 compared to other energy markets such as that of natural gas and coal. Mr. President, we are aware of the need to address the challenge of climate change. Therefore, Saudi Arabia is very interested in reducing emissions and promoting adaptation measures. Here, we call for a gradual and responsible transition toward clean energy systems with low emissions, using all available sources of energy to ensure sustainability. And all efforts must be combined in order to attain the goals that we want, taking into account national and regional circumstances as well as socioeconomic circumstances for sustainable development. We know this is a massive challenge, and we'd like to consolidate our leading role throughout the world when it comes to sustainability. Therefore, we have launched two initiatives called a Green Saudi Arabia and a Green Middle East, to protect the environment and to reduce carbon emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, and to promote living quality of life. We are working to increase the use of renewable energy and to reduce emissions for sustainable development. The Kingdom has announced an increased contribution, a doubled contribution for reducing emissions compared to 2015. So this is 278 million tons in the years to come, and we aim to achieve carbon neutrality as advocated by the circular economy approach. We also have an ambitious policy towards the future. We therefore have we are working to promote better governance of water resources. Based on our ambitious vision for the future, we have asked to host the Expo 2030 with the topic, the era of change, together for a foresighted tomorrow. And we will focus on prospects for the future during this expo, a future that's focused on technology and achieving the SDGs. It will be an excellent opportunity to promote projects with universal impact that can foster cooperation in order to find solutions through innovation, inclusiveness, and sustainability. These are all factors that are at the very heart of the World Expo 2030 in Riyadh. In closing, we would like to thank all the member states that supported my country's candidacy and ask other states to do the same. In conclusion, Mr. President, we would like to convey to the world our message, values, and principles in a spirit of partnership and respect to lay the groundwork for a better future for humanity. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Saudi Arabia.